I'd like to welcome Greg Matheson. Hi, how are you doing?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
This one right here.
So last year I was
Yeah.
on your home turf.
That's right.
Back in Toronto.
Yep.
For the Esomar Congress there, and but welcome to have you here.
Thanks,
Not
glad to
exactly
be
my
here.
home turf, but for Esomar, it's definitely the next one. So this time would really, obviously, we've been in here in the news. AI is very important. It's disruptive in a good way, but also it's attacking some of the villains in the industry, you could say. So regarding AI, what kind of effect is it having on fraud, especially when iResTech, and if you're able to describe more quickly
Sure.
what iResTech is.
Yeah, so before we get into that, I'm Canadian and it's crazy hot in here. I hope I'm not the only one, so if I'm dripping, I apologize. And I can't really tell if I'm being too loud with these things, so if I'm being too loud, tell me to pipe down. But yeah, no, I think to understand that question, first, when we look at it from the online space, we have to start with the two different types of nefarious characters, if you will, in the space. And the one is the survey farm, obviously, and the other one is kind of the lone wolf. And when you look at the survey farm, you're essentially looking at a scenario where you have one person essentially acting as the leader, if you will, of that group, and he has a team, or she has a team. And from there, that person is doing things like developing response cadence, figuring out how to qualify for a survey, scripting open ends, giving the team essentially a guide to work with. We have a kind of romanticized version of a survey farm. A lot of people think it's super technical. It's very low tech. What AI really essentially does is bridge that gap a little bit for this group in terms of offering those things. And then when you look at the lone wolf, you're essentially looking at somebody who may have a group or a network that they work with, but fundamentally they're somebody, the example we'll use is like an IT kind of help desk person, and then they'll put themselves in panels as kind of like a VP of IT type of thing. That's what they're essentially doing. It's a little bit tougher to get at.
So it is evolving on that end. It's the regarding that. So when it comes to fighting the fraud, what solutions do you have?
Well, so we have to look at how they're essentially using AI to begin with, right? So the survey farm is using things like ChatGPT to come up with a better response cadence, potentially better open ends, sound a little bit more knowledgeable. When you look at the lone wolf scenario, they're utilizing AI to bridge the knowledge gap. So if they're an IT help desk person, they're going to utilize ChatGPT throughout the survey, if you will, so they're answering these questions a little bit more knowledgeably. They're sounding a little bit more like a VP of IT, that kind of scenario. So it's really the types of ways that they're utilizing it. In terms of getting in front of it, right now, the best tools that we have at iResTech through our dtect application is essentially analyzing the open end, as it were, right? So understanding how the respondent is answering that question. Currently, again, when I talk about survey farms and essentially being low tech, there's two ways that they're essentially doing it. They're either copying and pasting right now the entire interface, and I don't know, there might be 3 people left that have not seen the ChatGPT interface, but normally you get a big response cadence and they'll copy and paste the whole thing in, or they'll just be copying and pasting the last actual sentence, right, and putting it in the open-ended text box. So there's certain things that we do to look at those types of things, but those are the types of things that you as a researcher want to be looking at in your open end and looking for that particular type of cadence when you're analyzing it, for sure.
That's it. So, regarding implementing the fraud detection systems, what are the challenges that you would experience?
Well, the challenges right now is, for the most part, what we have to work with really is the open-ended cadence.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for things on the detect side of things like excessive a little bit closer, better. So the excessive use of punctuation. Humans with open ends do not essentially use a bunch of things like commas and sentence structure and these types of things. We're looking at language between a 5th grade and 8th grade level. Those are things that you want to be looking at as well. Essentially looking for those tells, if you will. On the tech side of it, on our end, we're looking at things like copy and paste. I'll give the one example I give. My daughter was doing entrance exams for universities, and I was watching how she was doing it. And that entrance exam, she couldn't click off of it. Like she couldn't move out of the screen. It would detect if she did. Or if she went to copy and paste something in a text box, it would detect that she did. Why don't we have these types of things in survey scripting software to kind of come up with this stuff? Now, it works against the revenue model, if you will, but on our end, on the detect side, those are the types of things that we're incorporating into the application.
So, on the success side of it, though, like, have you seen an increase in genuine answers? Has it really been is it something that you've been able to see quite clearly?
It is. So again, when we step back to survey farms being low tech, right? So you can pick these things up much easier today. Our issue is that that's changing now because they're starting to do the actual interface training. So instead of asking a question and just getting this long cadence response where they're either copying the entire thing or copying the last sentence, now they're asking the question and then training it to say, give me a response between a 5th grade or an 8th grade level and give it to me in one sentence, like that type of thing. Or they'll change the cadence and say, give it to me in 5 or 6 words. So it becomes more difficult. Again, from a researcher's perspective, those tells are still there. If you see excessive punctuation, if it's not simple, if it's not short, there's different types of rules for 5th to 8th grade authored opinions and these types of things. Those things are still there, but they're getting better at it. So it's more important that we continue to develop the AI detection tools, whether it's out of industry, bringing it into our applications, or it's developing something that we're doing internal and bringing that into our application.
I see. And obviously, just as a last point, so ChatGPT, everything is coming up with that.
Yeah.
Is something that you would advise research companies to use themselves or develop and work on their own tools?
Well, some of the prescriptive advice actually is think about how you're wording your open ends. One way that you can tell is obviously AI, and you can even ask ChatGPT. It can't give opinions, and it can't express emotions. So if you're asking different types of open-ended questions and asking the respondent to give an opinion, right? So some of the examples we use is that, ChatGPT will say it may do this, it may do that, because it's not a firm opinion. Humans will say it will do this, it will do that. They tend to have more direct opinion in the online space, right? So those are the types of things that one can do for sure to then you'll see the types of responses you'll get, and it'll have those cadences in it that indicators that it's AI.
And would you have any recommendations for some of the new companies or those that are really trying to a couple of steps to try to incorporate the fraud prevention in it? Would you recommend?
So step one, you use the dtect software. That's step one. But there is a good technology out there. There's a couple of companies that are spending time and capital investing in these types of fraud detection tools. I would say support it. We uniquely understand the effort and energy and cost that goes into developing this technology and making it better and better and better. As we see there's new challenges. We weren't talking about ChatGPT a year ago, and again, it'll be something else a year from now, but it is important that the industry supports these types of things. And there's great tools out there. And it allows us to continue the investment and tackle, future challenges, and as things continue to kind of go on and on.
Well, thank you very much. That's 2 for 2, and I'll see you at the next Congress.
Awesome. Thanks, Ilya. Appreciate it.
Hopefully it'll be a little bit colder, a little bit cooler.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, thank you. Greg Matheson, everyone.